questions we get at Hickson's Roofing is, do we do commercial roofing? And yes, we do commercial roofing. We handle from TPO to PVC to tar and gravel, any kind of low slope roofing we can handle. At Hickson's Roofing, we take pride in offering commercial roofing because it allows us to protect your investment. I'm David Hickson, and if your roof needs fixing, call Mr. Hickson.
I'm here for you.
I'm Nora O'Donnell with the CSED News.
From the station that's on your side, breaking news.
Students in Aiken County finally know where they will be going for their first day of school. Just in the last hour, we learned Highland Springs passed its inspection today. That means students will not have to attend their first day of school online.
Yeah, that last inspection found that the school was safe for adults, but not yet suitable for students. Just ahead at 5:30, our Taylor Martin is live from Highland Springs with all of this latest information here. A sigh of relief for a lot of parents out there.
Yeah, a lot of parents scrambling to try to figure out how to do learn from home. It is a hot day here. It has also been a big day for a lot of students. Today, of course, the last day of summer vacation for Edgefield and Aiken counties. I'm sorry, kids, don't hate the messenger. The first day of school begins tomorrow. It is a big one because it is, well, really just the first time they're doing year-round school in those counties.
Yeah, absolutely. And, waiting out for the school bus, when it's really hot.
Yep.
That's not very favorable here. As we take a live look outside of Beach Island, we'll send things over to First Alert Chief Meteorologist Riley Hill. Now, Riley, we're still dealing with some of those hot temperatures outside.
Absolutely, guys. And with school starting in the month of July instead of August, this is kind of when we see our peak heating of the year. So our highest temperatures we usually see throughout the year in Aiken and Edgefield County, feeling like the mid to upper 90s for most spots. Even a few locations are up to the century mark. Moving forward this week, we're not really going to see this go away. It is going to stay seasonally hot for us over the next couple of afternoons and actually above average as we roll into later next week. Here's a look at some relief that we are seeing. You can see a little bit drier air across some of the southeast. Those dew points dropping into the 60s, so it's feeling a little bit better in a few spots, and the air quality's definitely improved a good bit from last week too. So air quality is a green good all the way from Atlanta to Augusta and Columbia. We are looking at a few very tiny downpours on our First Alert radar network. Most of us do look dry this evening and tonight, but you can see there are a few little tiny spots of shower activity, but most of us once again just not expecting much rain out there over the next couple of days. Any evening plans looking to stay partly cloudy to mostly clear. Temperatures falling off into the low 70s by midnight. Much more coming up on the rest of the week's forecast, but let's get a quick update on your First Alert traffic.
And now, First Alert traffic.
All right, let's take a look outside Riverwatch Parkway, I-20. We haven't really seen traffic slow down too much here near the state line. And how about this? A little blue sky outside for once for us, so not quite as much haze as what we did see last week. Going to Lewiston Road and exit 190 here, further closer to Grovetown, and just noticing that traffic back up off the exit there in Lewiston Road, still just that ongoing construction. Update on those storm chances and some hot temps in the full forecast in just about 10 minutes.
All right, thanks, Riley. Happening now, Alabama police are holding a news conference to address the Carly Russell case. Now they are reading a statement by Carly Russell. Let's listen in.
Related to this case, we will announce those charges when and if they are filed.
All right, with that, we'll take a few questions. As Officer Hale said, when call on you, please state your name and your affiliation. Yes, sir.
Chief Mims, WAGG 610 100.1 FM Summit Media. Chief, do we at this time of the Zehua Police Department know the whereabouts of Carly Russell during...
Okay, back out live now. That stream froze, but we want to give you some background on this case. Russell went missing in an alleged kidnapping before reappearing at her family's home last week. Now, she claimed that she saw a toddler on the side of the road before pulling over and then going missing. Now, we learn from this news conference that she says she never did actually see a toddler.
Yeah, and then at the tail end, right when we joined that press conference, they said that they're going to wait to see if there are any charges that are going to come in this case. In her own disappearance case, they revealed several questionable searches in her internet history late last week before she went missing, and we'll just have to wait and see what comes to that. Obviously, they were taking questions there from the media, so
yeah, and we'll be monitoring this, and if there's any new information that comes of this, or if we're able to pop back in and bring you any more information, of course, we will do that for you. But that's some pretty big news, her admitting that she never did see the toddler. Augusta Mayor Garnett Johnson has tackled walked in amid a lot of controversy.
Absolutely.
Officials in Pennsylvania say they believe they found the body of a missing 2-year-old after her family's car was caught in a flash flood last weekend in Pennsylvania. Her body was found more than 30 miles from where she went missing. The child's mother was killed in the flood, and the family's 9-month-old is also still missing. They were up north visiting family. Surviving family described the flash flood as a wall of water that swept away their vehicle with the children still inside. K-9 teams and search crews are still actively looking for that 9-month-old.
After nearly 50 years, a Georgia man is accused of murdering an 8-year-old girl in Pennsylvania. 83-year-old David Zanstra from Marietta is accused of kidnapping and murdering 8-year-old Gretchen Harrington in 1975. Zanstra was the pastor of a church at the time of Gretchen's murder in Media, Pennsylvania. He was responsible for transporting Gretchen and other children to and from a summer Bible camp. Her remains were found a month after her disappearance inside a state park in Pennsylvania. Today, the district attorney announced that Zanstra has admitted to the crime.
These troopers went down to Georgia, interviewed Mr. Zanstra, and he admitted to everything we have said here today. He murdered with his bare hands this poor young girl and then lied about it for 48 years.
Gretchen's family says that they are grateful to law enforcement for pursuing this case after so many years and hope that Gretchen's killer is brought to justice.
And speaking of, we're talking about governors now, Governor McMaster in South Carolina, the state legislature, it's out of session right now.
But McMaster hasn't let up using his bully pulpit to put the heat on lawmakers to enact harsher penalties for people who illegally possess guns. Our State House reporter Mary Green has the details.
The General Assembly isn't scheduled to be back here in Columbia until next January. I asked Governor McMaster how he plans to keep this priority at the forefront when they return.
They will be at the fore because it is going to keep on happening until our legislature takes the action that I've asked them to take and others have asked them to take and close this revolving door on these career criminals. It will continue to happen.
The governor's comments followed a shooting in the middle of the day last week near downtown Columbia that caused hours-long road closures and business lockdowns. Investigators say the suspect, 26-year-old Brandon Joyner, is prohibited from using a gun because he was on probation, but that he still had his hands on one that day and now faces 10 counts of attempted murder for shooting at officers. McMaster has repeatedly made this call this year, including right after a shooting on the beach at Isle of Palms left 5 people hurt. Tougher gun penalties passed the House of Representatives earlier this year, but they were folded into a larger bill that would allow most adults in South Carolina to carry a gun without needing a permit or training. Republican leaders in the Senate say there wasn't enough support to pass that bill in the upper chamber, and attempts to pass the illegal gun penalties on their own or in other bills fell short.
The gun penalties is something that we absolutely need to address. I wish we could have taken that up. Frankly, we didn't have the votes to take it up. But that's kind of where we are. And I've had that conversation with the governor, and I know he's been making some phone calls. And hopefully, if we can get some help, additional help in that area, that we can get to a resolution.
Numerous law enforcement leaders have joined the governor in calling for these illegal gun penalty enhancements, including SLED Chief Mark Keel. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
Republican Speaker of the House, Merle Smith, says he also agrees with the governor that these illegal gun penalties need to be addressed. But he says they'd likely face a challenge in the House where Republicans have a supermajority if they tried to separate them from the permitless gun carry bill.
Well, do you think you're any good at the game of poker? What about World Championship good? I am not that good.
Me neither. My poker face is terrible.
Well, just ahead, we'll meet a Georgia native who now has those bragging rights, Riley.
Well, we are looking to dry out for most days this week. Not too many storms in the forecast, but temperatures are going to be downright hot. We'll take a look at it just after the break. Welcome back, folks. A live view 750 feet up from our Beach Island camera. We got a mostly dry afternoon. There's a few very tiny isolated showers around town, but you can see some of these cumulus clouds are trying to get taller. Cannot rule out maybe one or two communities do see a quick shower at some point between now and sunset, but a lot of us do look to stay pretty dry. We had a good bit of cloud cover out there early this morning, so that's kept our temperatures in check. We've actually stayed in the 80s all afternoon, have not quite made it up to 90 just yet here in Augusta. Going to our first alert radar network, once again, there's these tiny little downpours popping up on radar, but other than that, just not looking to see anything too widespread, and there's not going to be a ton of necessary ingredients to really produce a lot of storms over the next several days. So this is going to move forward with the forecast. Possibly one or two pop-up showers and downpours each day, but honestly looking like most of us should stay dry through most of the work week. Any plans for the rest of this evening? Temperatures comfortable in the 80s. By the time we get to around midnight, we're dropping down to the 70s, and then actually potentially by tomorrow morning, heading up to the bus stop, if you are in Aiken or Edgefield County, we actually look to be very comfortable to start off the day in the upper 60s. So a little bit of some relief from a little bit less humidity over the next couple of days. Still going to be pretty hot though tomorrow afternoon. Heading home from school, temps will be in the mid to low 90s for most of the area, and wind's not going to be a huge factor either. But best of luck to all the kiddos heading back to school out there tomorrow. Here's a look at our hour-by-hour forecast, just showing that isolated chance for a shower storm through sunset tonight, and then heading into tomorrow morning, anywhere from the upper 60s to low 70s, hanging on to partly cloudy to mostly sunny skies during the day, and then there you go, later into the afternoon, maybe one or two of these storms bubble up, but I would imagine if you do see rain over the next couple of days, you'll probably be one of the lucky few. Just not a ton of showers out there for Tuesday and Wednesday. Temperature-wise, we are going to feel a little bit warmer by Wednesday afternoon. We'll go from highs in the mid-90s tomorrow to even getting close to the upper 90s by Wednesday afternoon. The one benefit of this, though, is that we're not expecting necessarily a ton of humidity like we saw all last week, so that heat index should stay about 100 or less throughout the next several days. Our rain chances are going to be pretty slim, too. We've been mentioning that. It's not really until the weekend we do start to see a little bit better opportunity to see a late-day shower storm. Even then, though, if you're making those weekend plans, definitely not looking like a washout. But with all these hot and humid conditions, that's mean it's a thriving environment for all our mosquitoes out there. So the mosquito meter going to be running into the extreme range Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If you are going to be out and about, just make sure you are bringing that bug repellent with you. Here's a full look at that 7-day forecast. We got hot temps, seasonal, mid to upper 90s all the way through Friday. And then into the weekend, there's those slightly better chances for a few storms.
Charlie, new at 5 in the last half hour, an update on the missing woman's case out of Alabama. We're talking about the Carly Russell case. She went missing after she originally told police that she stopped on the interstate to help a toddler and then was kidnapped. Now in a statement today, she says she made that story up.
There was no kidnapping on Thursday, July 13th, 2023. My client did not see a baby on the side of the road. My client did not leave the Hoover area when she was identified as a missing person. My client did not have any help in this incident, but this was a single act done by herself. My client was not with anyone or any hotel with anyone from the time she was missing. My client apologizes for her actions to this community.
Now, police say that they will continue their investigation despite this statement from Carly Russell's legal team. Right now, there are no charges, but the option to press charges, that is still on the table.
He outlasted more than 10,000 players to take home the title of 2023 World Series of Poker champion.
Now he has the title under his belt, as well as the championship's largest prize in its history at more than $12 million there. Brittany Ford introduces us to the champ.
A nail-biting moment, followed by an adrenaline like no other. This is 35-year-old Daniel Wyman being named the World Series of Poker 2023 champion. Back in Atlanta from the bright lights of Vegas, the Georgia Tech alumnus is calling bluff.
It does not feel real. I'm not sure when it's going to sink in.
Wyman beat out more than 10,000 players, taking home more than $12 million in winnings, the largest in the event's history.
It's crazy. You never think you have a chance to win a tournament until very late. with 14 left in the tournament.
After 16 years of competing, Wyman says he wasn't sold on making the trip to Vegas in what can be a vigorous 2-week tournament.
Some of my poker friends, along with my girlfriend Sarah, really convinced me, you need to go back out. You have to play the main event.
Only to be pleasantly surprised that the cards fell in his favor. Big money question. No pun intended. What are you going to do with that money?
It's a staggering amount of money. I'm sure no one will love this answer, but most of it will be invested. I'm sure my girlfriend and I are going to do some traveling that we had already planned, maybe a bit more extravagant than we had thought, but I don't see myself really changing my life all that much.
And who would have ever thought poker, $12 million? That's a pretty good prize there.
And he's like, oh, I don't see it changing my life all that much.
You say, I'm going to go travel. I'm out of here.
Yeah, $12 million would change my life a whole lot. Just,
pretty awesome.
Just saying. Good for him, though.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be that good enough to play poker. Even with my friends in a group, I'm still not that good.
No, you look
Terrible poker face.
No, I know. You can always tell what I'm thinking. It's written all over my face all the time. Yeah.
It's not a good idea. Wouldn't do it.
We have just busted ourselves as the worst poker players ever. Yeah,
Stick
play
to
with us
blackjack.
if you want to win some money. I guess so.
Not a lot, though.
No, surprises popping up in the mail, charging people for COVID tests they've never taken. Just ahead, what you need to know.
First alert.
Make your biggest summer ever big with Milton Rubin Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
Some seniors are getting charged for COVID tests that they never took.
Susan Campbell shows us how to spot the fraud. Medicare summary notices are showing up in the mail with some surprises. For one person, Medicare paid about $300 for COVID-19 tests she never ordered. Another person told us she had 12 charges for more than $1,200.
Kathy hasn't been to Illinois in years, and she hasn't ordered COVID-19 tests. So she was surprised when a recent Medicare summary of benefits showed 3 separate charges for COVID tests from labs in the Chicago area.
One of them was $200. 2 of them were $120.
There they are. Several claims for non-prescription, self-administered tests.
Medicare actually paid $94.08 for all of these.
And none of them are Kathy's. So she reported them to CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
And I said, why is Medicare paying these?
We wanted to know the same thing. A spokesperson for CMS confirms it is investigating consumer complaints about unsolicited over-the-counter COVID-19 tests.
It was, a healthcare emergency. And because of that, there were all kinds of restrictions that were loosened. And so we really need to be diligent and look at our bills.
If you spot something that seems strange, AARP's Dana Marie Kennedy says it's important to report it.
I really encourage people to report because we all, at the end of the day, pay for this. So if you're getting billed for something that doesn't look right, report it.
We tried calling one of the labs listed on Kathy's Medicare summary notice.
The subscriber you have dialed is not in service.
For another one, the voicemail box was full.
Please try again later. Goodbye. I'm very concerned. Anybody could have my information.
CMS says people have been charged for fraud, including shipping unsolicited COVID-19 tests. And the investigations continue.
Hopefully, this can be stopped. There's so many scammers out there in this world that are trying to make a buck and not work a day in their life. That is very frustrating to someone that has worked since they were 15 years old.
If you see charges for tests you didn't order, report it to Medicare at 1-800-MEDICARE. If a Medicare number has been compromised, CMS says it will notify the beneficiary and issue a new number. I'm Susan Campbell.
We'll leave the stay mostly dry this evening into tonight and a comfortable night down to the 60s by early tomorrow morning. Now look at that hot forecast for this week coming up.
This is Ruben Chevy.
All right, folks, take a look outside. We got a little bit of traffic building this eastbound lane crossing the river, Georgia into Carolina. We got blue sky overhead, though, mostly dry conditions at the moment. So hopefully the rain's not going to impact your commute too much. Temperature is actually feeling pretty comfortable right now. We're actually in the 80s still for high temperatures. Heat index up to 95, so it definitely feels a little bit hotter than that actual temp, but not as bad as what we did see last week. Here's a few spots we are tracking a little bit of rainfall. So this is up towards Baker Place State Park, just outside of McCormick, kind of that northern branch of Clarksville Lake. Mount Carmel, you may have saw a few raindrops there as well. A little bit closer towards us here in Augusta, we've had one or two tiny little showers bubble up, but for the most part, folks, a lot of us should stay dry for the rest of this evening and tonight. And that's going to be the forecast moving forward this week. We have mostly dry afternoons. Storm chances look to be 20% or less through Friday.
All right, thanks, Riley. That's all the time we have, but stick with us. We have much more news and weather coming up after a short break as News 12 Live at 5 continues.
And online